Here's Fred.
There we
I'm
go.
here.
Good morning, Fred. You can hear us?
I can hear you guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much. Thank you all for joining in. So all three officers and subcommittee members are online. And Fred, if you don't mind, we're ready to go when you are.
Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and start the meeting and call to order.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, guard officers, and appreciate you taking time to um, walk through our annual report. So the whole purpose of this meeting is to make sure you have an opportunity to review the draft annual report as well as the draft audit. All that information is in your packet, and we'll be happy to walk through it and give you an overview if that's what you like to do. But I'll leave it up to you all to decide, or if you have any questions, we can start with questions. Also, in your materials, we included a couple maps that show where all the improvements are since 2006. We felt that was going to be helpful to demonstrate the overall benefit of our TA 2006 plan improvements. With that, I'll turn it back to you. And if you have any questions, be happy to answer questions. If you want us to walk through it, we'll walk through the report. It's at your pleasure.
Thank you, Farhad. Um, I would like if you could walk through the report and just to make sure that we're all on the same page with this. I think it would be greatly appreciated. I'm looking at it on my desktop right now.
Of course, we'll be happy to. So, as you recall, the report basically has a section on the audited information that is still draft, and I'll ask James to walk through uh, the financials, and then between Rick and I, we can talk about project status and updates. But um, Crystal, if we can pull up the financials, that's in the packet. It's on the right-hand side, and we can just walk through that. Um, so the ad itself with the financials, yeah, keep going to the ad. There you go. So if you can zoom into the box on the right-hand side, that might be helpful. There you go. All right, James, if you don't mind, walk us through it.
Absolutely. Good morning. I'm just trying to catch up here on my PDF. Give me a moment. Okay, let's see. Apologize.
If you want, I can get started until you pull up your information. So just as an overview, uh, again, just as a reminder and for everyone's benefit, uh, so typically the annual report is for the previous fiscal year, which ended June of 2024. And the revenue section on top identifies the total revenue for the entire RTA operations, and the revenues obviously include of collection of the excise tax, as well as grants and program agreements with various entities. And so on the top section, 148 million is the total revenue collected during the previous fiscal year. And then
I'm,
as far as the expenditures, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Fart. I can take over. I'll just use the screen that we're
All
all
right,
looking at here.
go ahead and start with the expenditures, please.
All right, thanks. Yes, so the total roadway expenditures for fiscal 24, and again, that was the period from July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. So our total roadway reimbursements for 14,823,000. Um, Not a lot of activity. I think we'll see a lot more in the next year or two. And then safety improvements. very little there as well. Total safety, 104,000 for safety, elderly and pedestrian. And if you look at environmental and economic vitality improvements for greenways, bikeways, pathways, and sidewalks, we had $586,000 of expenditures. Wildlife linkage expenditures were about 34,000. That was mostly monitoring. And then our small business assistance Main Street program was $226,000. So a total of $846,000 for environmental and economic vitality for fiscal 24. Our transit operations were just under $38 million. And our revenues, transit revenues from various sources are in the $25 to $30 million range. And then TPT, excise tax, picks up the rest of that. Actually, it's inversely, excuse me. The administration expenses were $1,800,000, and our debt service was 56.3 million. And we also retired I believe the 2014 bond debt, and defer to Mr. Roy Corone to provide more detail on that. So our total expenditures for fiscal 24 were just under $112 million. That was less than our revenues for the year. So the remaining amount is about 37 million. There's a reserve amount within that. There is a 10% reserve that's required by our bond holders, and then the remainder is what we refer to as a restricted reserve. So it's not readily available for programming. So with that, then our beginning year fund balance on July 1 of 23 was just under $227 million. And the year-end balance, based on our healthy revenues, is up to almost $264 million. That said, most of those dollars are programmed and spoken for within the 25 to 29 tip. But we are in a healthy position.
Thank you, James. Couple of things to highlight, and you might already be thinking along those lines. So obviously with 2 years remaining, the main focus has been on completing roadway projects. And that's one of the reasons that those categorical elements are starting to come to conclusion. Most of them have been previously committed, and we're completing most of those categorical projects. And that's why those amounts are smaller, because we only have a few left to complete. And because of our financial management systems over the last, I would say since 2014, we have acknowledged that we do need to make sure that we're a little bit more frugal and reserve some of those future revenues to complete the roadway projects as well as the transit improvements. So both transit improvements and the roadway improvements are relatively healthy budgets to be able to complete those. And as you can see, the roadway improvement activities were somewhat lower than anticipated, but as James mentioned, most of those funds are committed and they're rolling over to the next fiscal year. So they will be obligated within the next year or two for completing mostly roadway projects. With that, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee, if you have any questions on the financials, we'd be happy to do that. And then after that, we can talk more about project status if you like.
The details on the page 15 of the information, the forecast for fiscal year 25 hasn't been provided yet. Do you have some insight into that we could hear?
Are you talking about the draft audit?
Yes.
Yeah, so the draft audit, again, we wanted to make sure we get it out to you as soon as we can. It's still draft, and once it's finalized, we'll be happy to send you a copy of the final document. But we believe that the information that we currently have is very solid at this point. Was there anything specific you had in mind, or
Well, just trying to give some light onto what the forecast looked like for the 25 fiscal year, because I was left blank in the current.
yeah, so that's a good question. So the audit typically looks back. They don't really do much of a forecasting per se. That's going to be done as part of our budgeting process for fiscal year 26 and 27, and we can send that information out to you as well once we have a really good picture of what fiscal year 26 is going to look like. We did talk about it briefly at the last CART meeting, so we're working towards getting that out. Hopefully, we can share that with the CART committee as well.
Okay.
All right. If there are no other questions on the financials, and again, so what you have here is a draft of the ad as well, which would be something that's going to be available to the public. So in addition to the financials, we have some project language and some updates on the project. So if you see anything in there that you think needs more clarity, or if you have any questions, we'll be happy to talk about the content of the ad as well.
Farhad, if I may, the one thing I can add as you were scrolling through it, we do still include this in the hierarchy that we've been following for in compliance with the board's requirements about construction, state law, and then other projects. So it's important to remember that we're still acting in that kind of priority sequencing and hierarchy of funding allocations.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say one more thing about the transit. I think I sort of misspoke there. So our outside revenue sources, non-excise tax, were in the $9 to $10 million range, and the remainder of the operations costs were paid for by RTA excise tax. So that's the $38 million that's listed here.
So James, just to be clear on what you're saying there, so approximately $9 million, you said the excise tax comes from an outside of the 37, or that's included within that 37.8?
The budget for the transit that you see there, the budget, and then whatever operations costs are incurred beyond that potentially. About 8.6 million are local non-RTA excise tax revenues, and then another 2.2 are federal, and the remaining expenditures are excise tax.
Let me expand on that as well. So if you recall, the maintenance of effort was required on transit expenses, and that roughly $9 million is the maintenance of effort that the local entities who get RTA dollars for transit, they have to contribute that, and then RTA funds will supplement what they're doing.
Thank you.
Of course.
Is there any other questions from the group?
So are you going to review the second page of this, or do you just want us to provide
If you
comment?
if you like, we can scroll down, and Rick, if you want to touch on some of the highlights, but it's at your pleasure if you have any questions. If not, we can just give you quick highlights of those individual elements. Rick, if you would mind, just do that for.
I'll kick it off for the group, and then I can hit upon any, and I will stay high clip and broad-based because a lot of this is similar to what we talked about in November. So we do have a number of construction projects that have been underway, carrying forward between fiscal years 23 or 24 and then spilling into 25. That includes Tangerine Road, Downtown Links, Sunset, 22nd Street preparing out, let's see, Houghton Road, Valencia Road, Irvington Road. So all in various stages of finalizing design, or they're actually in construction and are going to continue progressing on that. The big ones also to highlight, we talked a little bit about the safety projects, bike and ped projects, and those type of activities. So we do have a number of those coming online. As Farhad mentioned, we've had funding that we've contributed to those, or in some cases, we're augmenting the federal funds that we received for those type of qualifying projects on bike and ped related pathway projects or those type of things. So we've got a number of those, as well as then a big push that'll be kicking off here in calendar year 25. So variety, still a nice diverse accommodation across all the different modes out there. I know that's very, very brief and very high clip, but anything specifically you wanted to ask Charlene or Fred or Chris, or anything you want me to go back in more detail on?
No, I don't have any other questions on that part. Just if you go down, just scroll down just a little bit to that, the full RTA, should that be Jan 1, 2025? In that little box down there underneath, yes. Should that be?
You're muted, Farhad.
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I didn't want to be coughing. Yes, good catch. That should be 2025.
Okay, okay.
Good catch.
Good catch on that.
Yeah, and I don't have anything else under that.
Chris, do you have anything to add or any additional questions?
Nope, no other questions.
All right. Thank you all so much. Again, appreciate your time and your dedication to the RTA. We obviously rely on you all to make sure that we're providing the correct information and updated information to the public, and appreciate your eyes and ears and your recommendations. So at any time, if you see anything and if you hear anything that needs more clarification, please let us know, and we'll be happy to get the information out.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Be good.
Okay, bye.